Hezbollah attacked Israel, and Israel has declared full-scale war. Iran has gone crazy, attacking 14 countries in the region, including bases of France and the United Kingdom. Greetings, I'm Ari, and I'm sharing this update on the war currently taking place in the Middle East, here from Israel. Today is Monday, March 2nd, 2026. Night is falling over Israel, and this is the update for the third day of war. The situation is no longer an exchange. It's an open war on several fronts, with direct impacts in Israel, in the Gulf, and with economic consequences already being felt around the world. Let's start with the most important thing. Today, Israel went to open war against Hezbollah in Lebanon. We're talking about the terrorist group. Israel's defense minister Katz was clear. He said that Hezbollah will pay a high price for the attacks against Israel. Katz directly pointed to Naim Qassem, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, as a marked target for elimination, holding him responsible for deciding on the attack under pressure from Iran. And Katz didn't say it in a diplomatic tone. He said that whoever follows the path of Ali Khamenei will soon meet him in the depths of hell, along with all those eliminated from the so-called axis of evil. He also made another key point. He said that there is no return to the rules of engagement that existed before October 7th. The instruction, according to Katz, is to protect the residents of northern Israel and all citizens with all the necessary force. This direct confrontation against Hezbollah began very early today. This was after the terrorist group carried out several attacks with missiles and drones from southern Lebanon in the early morning around 1 o'clock. So now we have a new front opened for Israel, striking Hezbollah. However, the main objective remains to destroy and defeat the Iranian regime and neutralize its capabilities in Operation Lion's Roar in order to completely eliminate threats against the Jewish state and, according to the official narrative, allow the citizens of Iran to rise up against the regime and overthrow it. Now, what exactly happened during the early morning hours? Well, first, we must remember that on the same Saturday, when the attack against Iran began, the president of Lebanon asked Israel not to attack their territory, to which Israel responded that they would not do so, as long as Hezbollah refrained from joining Iran to attack Israel. Well, Hezbollah's restraint lasted only 2 days, once they attacked northern Israel with missiles and drones. Israel's response was immediate and forceful. While targets of the Iranian regime were being attacked in the heart of Tehran, at the same time, a wave of attacks was carried out against dozens of Hezbollah targets throughout Lebanon. The IDF estimates that 70 targets were attacked, including the Beirut area and southern Lebanon in the first hours. There is talk of high-ranking commanders being hit, headquarters, infrastructure, and even a vehicle with operatives from the Radwan unit in the Kafr Daghel area. After those launches, the IDF spokesperson in Arabic issued an evacuation notice for 53 villages in southern Lebanon. That's what allows us to understand why today we have videos of people in Lebanon looking at a certain point, waiting, as if they knew that a missile was going to fall and that it would hit a specific area. Very precise, of course, until sealed it. Excellent videos. CZ. Manicom, leave it. F. Perisos Mianes, I send one for. All within the neighborhoods of Lebanese society. That's why people, knowing an attack is coming, move aside and start recording, simply waiting for the missile to fall. And here's a detail that explains the speed of Israel's strike this morning. The IDF says they prepared in advance for the scenario that Hezbollah would join the war. In the Northern Command, the border was significantly reinforced with defensive and offensive capabilities. This allowed for a quick and forceful attack without leaving the defense exposed. Even before the start of Operation Rising Lion against Iran, the IDF stated that during the last month they carried out significant attacks throughout Lebanon to weaken Hezbollah's attempts at reconstruction, and that they would have a strong force to support Iran in a possible joint attack. In addition, other fronts were reinforced as part of a broad preparation for a multi-front scenario. In the Central Command, the effort against terrorism was reinforced with dozens of operations in the Southern Command. The forces continue to operate and defend the Yellow Line of Gaza, and troops were reinforced along the western and eastern borders to protect the south, the Arava, Eilat, and the western Negev. For those who haven't understood, what's happening is that Israel is simply surrounded by enemies on all sides, and the IDF? And they say they deployed numerous forces on the borders, ready on the front line to ensure complete defense against any scenario. In these 3 days of war, 110,000 Israeli reservists have been called up. Understanding that what is expected now, since there is no ceasefire with Hezbollah, which drastically limited Israel's operations. So what is estimated then is that there will be a very significant ground incursion which will lead us in the coming days to a war not only in the air, but with Israeli ground forces sweeping through all of southern Lebanon in a completely open fight against Hezbollah forces. And in that context, many might think that the terrorist group Hezbollah no longer has much with which to respond. Well, let me tell you about the current capabilities of the terrorist group, which is still the largest in the world. According to estimates cited by the Alma Research and Education Center, Hezbollah has around 25,000 missiles and rockets, mostly short and medium range. It is estimated that they have the capability to launch up to dozens of rockets and missiles per day. In terms of drones, there are said to be about 1,000 suicide drones plus an unspecified number of tactical drones. In terms of manpower, there are between 40,000 and 50,000 active fighters and between 30,000 and 50,000 reservists. And the Radwan unit, the invasion unit, the most sophisticated one, is estimated to have about 5,000 members, approximately 3,000 fighters, and 2,000 in support and logistics. But before I dive in, I want to share with you the story of this vial, which amazed me, and I think you should know about too. This vial holds an unbelievable story that was unheard until now. Inside is earth from the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, rescued by archaeologists after thousands of years of history were dumped as rubble. It is our opportunity to prevent history from disappearing. Start the new year with a personal connection to Jerusalem. Click the link in bio or scan the code to enjoy a special offer. As you can see, we're talking about large numbers. This could easily be the army of a country, so we're talking about significant military power with the capability to inflict heavy blows on the state of Israel. With this new front opened then, what we are now facing here in Israel is an open war. Of course, and most likely a prolonged one, not lasting days but weeks or even months. Based on the experience we already have from what has happened in Gaza and in the context of the attacks by Hezbollah against Israel. Last night, for the first time in history, we were able to see military technology in action and in a real conflict. High-power laser. We're talking about the deployment of the Iron Beam, the Israeli laser defense system. What you're seeing on screen is the Iron Beam in action, which is deployed right on the border with Lebanon. In the footage, you can see it shooting down targets. The missiles that Hezbollah was firing, once they reached a certain altitude, were detected by the system, which fired immediately. The laser beam, which is worth mentioning, is imperceptible to the human eye. In the footage where you can see the laser beam, it's because there are special cameras that make it visible. And what is shown then is neutralizing the missiles right in their launch phase. This marks a milestone not only for Israel's air defense, but for the history of contemporary warfare. Very likely, then we will start to see many more images of the Iron Beam in its full deployment. Alright, now let's move to the front with Iran, which has literally lost its head, Khamenei, but has also lost its sanity. And it seems like they've entered a mode of, if we go down, we all go down together. Listen to this. Just last night and so far today, Iran has struck 14 countries or territories in the region, and in some cases, military bases of NATO allies, being hit for the first time. I'll summarize it for you country by country, as it's being reported in Israel. During the night and today, there were different waves of attacks against several cities in the country, including Jerusalem, with a regrettable direct hit, that of a ballistic missile. In the southern Israeli city of Beersheba, 74 people were injured by shrapnel, and thanks to the Eternal, there were no fatalities. And at Abu Dhabi Airport, 1 person was killed and 7 were injured. In Dubai, an impact was reported in an area of the airport with 4 people injured and flight chaos. In Bahrain, a massive fire has been reported at the Naval Support Operations Complex, which houses the headquarters of the United States Navy's 5th Fleet. Black smoke in the sky, visible for kilometers. In Kuwait, the airport terminal was reported hit and the Ali Al Salam Air Base bombed. In Qatar, the Al Udeid Air Base was reported hit. This is the largest U.S. base in the entire Middle East. In Saudi Arabia, nighttime explosions were reported in Riyadh. In Jordan, ballistic missile interceptions were reported, but with burning debris falling in civilian areas. In Iraq, it was reported that U.S. military bases in different parts of the country were targeted. In Oman, direct impacts were reported. In Syria, other impacts were reported. In Cyprus, it was reported that the British base in Akrotiri was directly hit. Let's remember that in yesterday's report, I told you there was an attempt to attack just yesterday, but they were intercepted before reaching their targets. Today, we weren't as lucky, and a direct hit has been documented. This marks the first time that a NATO ally, the United Kingdom in this case, has had a military base attacked. But hours later, a strike on a French facility was reported, meaning this is the second case involving a NATO member. The strike occurred at the French base in the United Arab Emirates, and it is reported that a NATO camp linked to Italy in Kuwait was also hit by the missiles. Disruption is reported in the Strait of Hormuz due to the closure caused by Iran, through which it is estimated that about 20% of the world's oil passes. Flights are suspended in much of the Gulf, and there is talk of a rate of 170 ballistic missiles in just 24 hours fired by Iran at these 14 nations. The phrase that sums it all up, and it hurts to say it, is this. This no longer feels like a regional conflict. It's starting to feel like the beginning of something much bigger. And there are some points from the day that are important because they illustrate a much more complete, more general picture. Around 7 in the morning, a drone attack was reported against a Saudi oil facility. Then, Iran's Houthi allies from Yemen attacked oil facilities of the Aramco company using Shahed 136-type drones. According to the report, several drones were directed towards Ras Tanura on the eastern Saudi coast, where one of the largest and most important complexes in the world for oil export and processing is located. Amid the chaos of all these Iranian attacks in the region, the Patriot defenses in Kuwait mistakenly shot down 3 American F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets. This, as confirmed by CENTCOM, the 6 pilots managed to eject and were rescued alive in stable, moderate condition. This is a serious coordination incident during wartime, a misidentification error at a moment of maximum pressure, which shows that in real war, experience matters a lot, something that none of these Gulf countries obviously have. They have large and very well-armed armies, but with little experience in real warfare, something in which Israel has a big advantage over them. On screen, I'm showing you the documentation of an American pilot who landed in Kuwait with his damaged F-15 and suffered minor injuries. In the video, you can see the moment when local residents evacuate him. Thank God he was able to land in friendly territory, otherwise, at that moment, the story would be very different.
Thank you for helping us as much as you could.
Well, and in these 3 days of war, the attacks by Israel and the United States against Iran are estimated at more than 400 just in the Iranian capital and more than 6,500 airstrikes throughout Iran. These are enormous, monumental numbers. All right, and something important. 42% of the people who are watching me, who watch this channel, are not subscribed, or think they are subscribed, but actually are not. So make sure that you are subscribed. You just need to click the button that says subscribe and hit the bell icon. People also keep writing in the comments that several of them can't subscribe or the button doesn't show up. So check to see if the same thing is happening to you. And remember that memberships are active, which give you access to the private WhatsApp group where we share information, photos, and videos every day. All right, and pay attention, because the Japanese defense minister issued a strong warning, and he stated that the Iranian regime must never be allowed to have nuclear weapons. And along the same lines, there is explicit support described for the military action by Trump and Israel against the Ayatollahs, against the Iranian regime. The interpretation is that the anti-Iran axis is getting stronger and stronger, and Europe is also moving. It was reported that France did not stand idly by after the attack on its base in Abu Dhabi. The nuclear aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle set course for the Mediterranean by express order of the presidency to confront Iranian attacks against its interests in the region. And furthermore, President Macron announced that France will increase the number of nuclear warheads for the first time in decades, and that they will no longer disclose figures about their arsenal. As we can see, there is too much noise right now, and many things are starting to happen very quickly. Let's now look at some official operational data. According to what is being reported right now, the IDF has revealed figures on Operation Lion's Roar so far. More than 2,500 weapons used and around 600 terrorist infrastructures of the Iranian regime destroyed. On the American side, General Tom Keane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, described the strike. With more than 100 aircraft from land and sea in a single synchronized wave, fighters, tankers, early warning planes, electronic attack, bombers, and unmanned platforms. He stated that since the attack began, triggered and carried out by the IDF and facilitated by U.S. intelligence, an incredible military deployment has taken place. He described that the first attackers from the sea were the Tomahawks deployed by the United States Navy approaching Iran's southern flank, and that on the ground, long-range precision weapons were fired. Deliberate, precise, and lethal measures. According to that description, more than 1,000 targets were hit by the United States in the first 24 hours. All right, now let's move on to something very important. It's being reported that Qatar halted gas production as a result of the attacks. This had driven a 50% increase in gas prices in Europe in a single day. And in the United States, a 5.2% rise in gasoline prices was reported. It is mentioned that Qatar Energy has halted natural gas production amid the ongoing bombings over Al Udeid. Let's understand that if Qatar, one of the world's largest gas exporters, comes to a halt and Hormuz, the strait, is closed and interrupted, the world could enter a global energy crisis similar to that of 1973, and very quickly. So we have to be very alert, because this conflict is escalating in many directions. And with this, I will wrap up today's update. Here in Israel and throughout the entire Jewish world, celebrating Purim tonight, and Purim is not just about costumes, noise, and sweets. Purim is a festival of remembrance. It's a reminder. It's the story of when the people of Israel were literally sentenced to be annihilated. And the Eternal, in a way that seemed impossible, overturned the decree, exposed the plan, and delivered his people from the hands of Haman. You can find the Amalekite in the biblical texts, in the book of Esther. All right, and the reason why this matters today is because in every generation, a Haman rises up with the same obsession to wipe Israel off the map. When you listen to the great leader Khamenei and the Iranian regime vowing the annihilation of the Jewish people, it's inevitable to feel that history is repeating itself. With different names, with different uniforms, with different weapons, but with the same spirit. Purim also reminds us that even when all doors seem closed, when the danger is real and the world trembles, the Eternal still has the last word. So today, more than ever, let it be a Purim of strength, of unity, and of clarity, of understanding that it's not about having a good army or the best one, it's not about having the best planes or the best intelligence. It's the conviction of knowing that the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, He is the one who protects His people, delivers them from the clutches of their enemies, and causes those enemies to fall into their own plans. Thank you for joining me in this update. Subscribe, share this video, and don't leave without giving it a like. See you next time.